How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on YouTube and Facebook Live. I am your host, Richie, riding solo today on this majestic Monday. We're going to be hitting on more hot takes for MLB with the season just around the corner. Today, I'm going to be honing in a little bit on the National League East. NBA trade deadline dealing, definitely a big thing going on right now. I'm going to hit on the new acquisition for the San Antonio Spurs that I think is going to bolster the game of Wemby and just kind of put the Spurs in a better place moving forward. So definitely going to be hitting on that as well. It is Super Bowl week. We are getting ready for our big rollout. Announcements to come on that as well. Myles Garrett talking about a new destination as he is growing tired of his time in Cleveland. So going to start this up with just that. It appears that Myles Garrett will be looking to join a contender as, so many years are guaranteed left in this man's prime, and he definitely wants to relocate. I'm going to say this right now, the Buffalo Bills, regardless of whatever money's allocated to others, this is the guy they got to hone in on. We know what they bring on offense. You have a tier one player in Josh Allen. I think a player like a Myles Garrett gets them over the top. If I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm doing whatever it is I have to do to add this guy to my roster. I'm sure there are many teams that are going to be looking for his services, but if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I got to make sure that I'm at the front of that line. Myles Garrett, in my opinion, a future Hall of Fame player, and a guy who I think tried to be patient and tried to be as patient as possible for the Cleveland Browns, but as I already alluded to, you only get so much time in your prime. And Myles Garrett wants to win. He doesn't want to waste his prime playing on teams that are mediocre or less than mediocre. And unfortunately, given the ridiculous contract that the Browns did give Deshaun Watson, they're going to be trying to recoup up to 95 mil of that deal because part of his contract stated that, with the injury, he had to wear a walking boot. He released a TikTok. He was dancing. As some of you may have known, he re-aggravated and retore that Achilles. So, that could be a good way to bring back some of that money because I think everyone knows that Deshaun Watson has been a bust of a free agent addition. But most definitely Myles Garrett going to be looking to play for a contender. And if I'm a Bills fan, if I'm anybody working for the Bills organization, that's the guy that I want. Guy's a game changer on every level. Top 3 to 4 at his position. And when you see some of the other players on that Bills defense, I think he could bring a lot out of many of the guys that are already on that current roster. So that's my prediction. The Buffalo Bills are going to do whatever they got to do to get this guy. Or at least they should. I also have some news about New York Rangers goalie Jonathan Quick yesterday becoming the first American goalie with 400 career wins. These Rangers are such an up and down team and just so hard to figure this year. This is a team that won the President's Trophy last year, pretty much for the majority of the year, front to back last year. We're the best team in hockey. They had a lot of issues dealing with Florida Panthers forechecking, the speed of the Florida Panthers, and ultimately succumbed to them in 6 hard-fought games. But this is a team that recently made an important move and a team that I think is trying to figure out if they can afford to keep the core of the team together. Currently, only 4 points out of a final playoff spot are these New York Rangers. But truthfully, even with the addition of JT Miller, they've got to start stringing some wins. They've got to remind their front office that they look more like the team last year than whatever it is that we're seeing right now. Because what I see right now all too often is just a team that is just the quintessential version of mediocre. As Jonathan Quick goes, the 2-time former Stanley Cup champion, it's really cool to see the way that he was celebrated on the ice by his teammates, Guy's been a true pro, a backup for Igor Shesterkin. And honestly, if you line up Igor's numbers too quick, they're very similar this year. Now, of course, it's in limited duty for Quick, but I must admit that every single season, Igor seems to go through these stretches where he struggles, as many goalies do. It's a long season. You could say the same thing about pitchers in baseball. But, it's kind of funny because people constantly want to, go in on Igor. But I will say this, the numbers are scary similar. And when I consider that Igor got a record-breaking deal, it is a little concerning that when he's not on and when he's not a top 5 goalie, when he's going through his slumps, the goals given up this year just doesn't look like the same guy as last year. So it is a little concerning, but on the flip side, it's always comforting to know that you have a veteran that has been through the NHL wars like Jonathan Quick. But congratulations, big win over a really good Vegas team that's leading the Pacific right now. And as I already alluded to, early game, coming back from Boston, it's a good statement victory. But the statement will get quieted quick if the Rangers do not start putting some wins together. Because if they have another bad couple of weeks, it could get late early. And, the Rangers have to start considering, as I said, do they want to keep rolling with the same core? Very talented team. However, they're underachieving. And there's really no way to go around that part. No way to go around that part whatsoever. I really enjoy what the Rangers have tried to do this year, what they've tried to do over the course of the last few years. But this year, I think the Rangers' Waterloo has been getting off to those really horrific first periods. I find the Rangers playing catch up a little too much. And quite frankly, I don't think they have the kind of roster that is geared to be playing catch up as consistently as they have. Playing with a lead, completely different Ranger team. So we'll see if they can mirror or emulate the team that they were last year. One thing that I know about hockey is that expect the unexpected, because you can basically just pick any season of the last 20. The best team in the NHL damn near never wins. The Stanley Cup playoffs, similar to the NCAA men's tourney, one of the most unpredictable tournaments in any and all of sport. But as a diehard Ranger fan, I really hope that they turn the corner, because this is just not good enough when I think about the kind of talent they have on that team. Daniel Nunez, good afternoon and happy Super Bowl week. Same to you, Nunez. I know you have got to be excited about your Philadelphia Eagles. Talking to the guys, just trying to make sure that we have everybody on the same page for the same day. But look for us midweek for that Super Bowl preview, assuming nothing changes. But I'm thinking either Wednesday night, possibly Thursday, but definitely midweek, we're going to have the rollout. Last couple of seasons, we've actually gone early on Super Bowl Sunday and done that. But going to kind of leave it up to the majority of my team to see. And maybe we'll bring you on for a segment, Nunez, and, you could kind of join us on taking us through the kind of year that your Eagles had. How about no? You guys have enough guys. I mean, what's up, bro? Is that your cat, bro? All right. Thanks for hanging, appreciate you, bro. All right. So I also wanted to hit on a little fun that I was having with some downtime. This is a mock draft that I put together for my beloved New York Giants. Just bear with me. Here we go. Yeah, with the Giants, I put together a mock draft that I myself was actually quite proud of. For some odd reason, I am having an issue pulling this up, so just bear with me. StreamYard's playing with me right now. Here we go. All right, as many of you could see, Travis Hunter, who I believe possibly is the best corner in the NFL draft class coming in. Two-way player, definitely a guy that you put in on offense for sub packages. I took him at 3 overall in this particular draft. both Shador Sanders and Cam Ward were off the board. But I have said on many a show, I am not convinced that Cam Ward or Shador are the necessary answer for what the New York Giants need. I paired up Jackson Dart and his favorite receiver. I think it's important for continuity, and I think to myself, while not being a number one receiver at the NFL level, opposite of Malik Neighbors, that could potentially be a problem. Ultimately, I wanted to round out this particular draft. I wanted to diversify it and put depth at every possible position that my favorite football team needs. I did draft up, trade up to get Dart. And as you can see here, just looking for a lot of balance. I got Dexy some help. Jake Brenningstool out of Texas, I think that's more of a project player. I think that's a guy that's going to have to put on some more weight, but as long as it doesn't affect his athleticism. But at the height, I think he could be a legitimate red zone target. So we'll see if that ultimately works out. NBA news. De'Aaron Fox. He is now a member of the San Antonio Spurs, joining Wemby. And I'll tell you, I really like this move. I like this move a lot more than the big mega deal that the Lakers and the Mavericks did. This gives the Spurs credibility in that backcourt. I think this takes a little bit of pressure off of Wemby. And I got to say, man, in a lot of NBA discussions, we always go back and forth about who's the best of this generation, that generation, and kind of overstate everything. But Wemby right now, as far as I'm concerned, could potentially have the ceiling of being the best player of his particular generation. De'Aaron Fox is a great, great talent. This was a 3-team situation. In addition to a lot of draft capital, the Kings also receive Zach LaVine, who I believe is going to be very helpful. And I think he's going to be remotivated coming into a healthier situation, because sometimes guys just need a change. When you're in a mediocre situation for a long time as a professional, sometimes it could really be taxing. But this is a move that I think gives the Kings something when you move on from a big star. And as far as the San Antonio Spurs go, they are growing something really special there right now. And I look for the Spurs to be a force in the West for years to come, as they are just getting started. They are still in the infancy of every little bit that they're trying to accomplish. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Got some MLB hot takes, speaking for me and only me. But some of these hot takes, just, my own personal opinions, research, things that I base off of things that have happened in the not so distant past. But I've got the Atlanta Braves, the eventual returns of Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr. will power the Braves into the postseason. I foresee the Braves being a back-end playoff team getting in on the wild card. I don't think the Braves are going to be better than the Phillies or the Mets. Speaking of those Mets, this might be a stretch, but it's what I'm feeling. Francisco Lindor will win the NL MVP due to the help in the Mets lineup, particularly Juan Soto. Pete Alonso, still a free agent, will return to Queens, in my opinion. However, I don't have the Mets being better than the Phillies. How about them Phillies? Will be the biggest challenge to the Dodgers in the National League. Kyle Schwarber will lead MLB with 53 home runs, which for him would also be a career best. Average-wise, I got Schwarber hitting between 225 and 240, which for him is not all that bad. The Nationals, right around 500. They'll show a little promise, but with just the power of the teams in that National League East, I do not see them good enough to make the playoffs, because where you play sometimes matters a lot. No shock here. Miami Marlins will lose 100 games. I don't know, man. It's hard to believe that this team actually won 2 World Series, but it seems like every time they do, they bust it up, they break it up. But I don't have very good feelings or very good expectations for that Miami team. And to be frank, very rarely do I have good feelings for that team. Wanted to go back to this mock draft just for a moment before I get out of here. Depth, man. Depth is such a big thing in today's NFL because injuries are naturally going to happen. What I did do here, going linebacker in the round that I did out of California, one thing that I genuinely like about that particular player, one of the better cover linebackers in this draft, which is rare considering where they have him going, and it just in general is rare in this particular draft. But covering tight ends has been a huge, huge issue for the New York Football Giants. So I do potentially like adding that skill set there. I tried to diversify the draft, as I said. Cam Scatterbo, I think, is a guy that could complement Tyrone Tracy. My personal opinion in this draft, the best complement to Tyrone Tracy would be Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. But when I consider all the needs of the New York Football Giants, I think they're going to hold off and wait a little bit to get a running back. The running back class is actually very deep and talented this year. So I think the Giants could make out rather well in the later rounds. Jenkins, defensive tackle, if it's even remotely close to where I was able to draft his talent, it's good. Great technique. Definitely has to work on the motor, but a guy that doesn't quit on plays and a guy that I think could benefit from being right next to All-Pro Dexter Lawrence. When I saw the Giants last year, midway through the season, they led the league in sacks. They have potential. But we're going to continue to bust out some of these mock drafts as we get closer to the draft. Until next time, I am Richie. Just a couple of thoughts on the brain that I wanted to bring you. Please like and subscribe to the channel, Richie X Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube, and we will be giving announcements in the near future for our next show, which will be covering the Super Bowl. Have a great Monday, everyone.